average American has what, like $400 or $4,000 to their name at all, right? A roof alone, you're going to be north of 10 grand nowadays. Things like that, like where somebody's in a home, but they aren't making enough to really be stashing away cash to be saving up for some of the updates and repairs. Yeah, I never got into drugs, so that was good. I did coach a drug dealer.
Oh, you
one
did?
time.
I was there for that also.
Easy product, and he was just messing it up.
He wasn't even using it. What's up, everybody? It's the It's Your Neighbor podcast. This week, we got a pretty cool guest, but before that, my dude.
Yeah, Anthony Alvarado back in the house. How are you guys doing? It's so good to be here. And yes, this is your brother.
It is.
This is your bro. I'm sitting in between you guys. So, name?
Corey Reyement.
And where are you from?
Green Bay.
Awesome.
He's from Pulaski.
Yeah.
Pulaski.
Yeah. Green Bay, Pulaski.
Plasky roots, but nobody knows where that is.
You know, it's
outside of this
worldwide
area.
now. So.
That's right. That's
if
right.
you look at what we were doing this, we were right about there.
Right about
there.
Yeah.
In the hand.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I feel like I've known you my whole life.
Yeah, well,
Or your whole life.
I've known you my whole life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
And where are you from? Who are you representing today?
Fox Cities Homebuyers, I Buy WI is another brand that
That's
we
right.
represent. And then we have another brand on a different side of the business called Wisconsin Discount Properties. So
Yes.
a lot of brands
Yes.
wrapped into one.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I see you guys on the news. You're in my living room more often than you probably even realize.
That's
you know what I
weird.
mean? So
That's good.
Good
That is
Morning
weird.
America. I watch that every morning with the kiddo. And
Does it do anything for you? Or?
you know, I almost want to call every single time you
good.
pop up on the screen.
Good. Good.
look at, here you are.
Yeah. And look,
And you look at
and
it
this is happening.
Like it came out of your subconscious and bam.
Manifesting.
Manifested it right
Manifested
here.
this podcast.
We took him out of the screen and
Yes.
put him in that chair. That's right.
From
wearing the
TV
same
to
clothes.
studio.
That's right.
Yes, taking action. So let's get into it. So
Yeah.
I actually wanted to ask a question because I was taking a look at your website and I asked your brother, like, what is Fox Cities Homebuyers? If you could just sum it up in 10 seconds.
Yeah, essentially we help people who have properties that don't want to go the traditional route of selling on the market. We help them out of more distressed situations or creative solutions, I guess, to their real estate problems versus the classic, just put it on the open market.
The way that
situation.
we do it.
The way that
normally.
you guys do
So
it.
it's
We're like
It's-
the opposite. The
we
yin
are.
and the yang. We work really well together though because of that. That's
it's
cool.
for sure. And I think it is so I guess you guys get sometimes a bad rap, or people I guess in your industry give you a bad rap, right?
Yep.
So let's get that out right away, because obviously there's an opportunity for most people to sell on the market, and especially recently in the last few years to make a bigger sale. But when you're dealing with a real estate company, you're dealing with inspections, and not as many lately, but again, now they're starting to come back. I've had more inspections. I had to remember how to write an inspection amendment. So,
Nice.
But you're dealing with inspections. You're dealing with multiple people involved in a transaction, really from a buyer's agent, a seller's agent, a buyer. You have a lot of humans involved, lenders, underwriters, all of those different things. So how is that different with you guys?
Yeah, exactly. And we love the contrast. We don't want to work with people who the best option for them is to go and put it on the open market. If their goal is to get the most money they can. I literally just had a conversation with a guy 30 minutes before recording this of like, dude, you should just list with a real estate agent because you don't need to sell it quick. Your house is in great shape. You want the most money. I'm not your guy.
Right.
Like I'm not your guy. But what we do work really well with is a lot of crazy situations people get themselves into. And it's a small percentage. I would say if you look at the market share, out of every 100 properties that sell, there's maybe 3 that sell to somebody like us.
Okay.
So it's about 3% of the market. It goes to an investor. But really, it's more of the simple sale. It's me and the homeowner sitting down at the table, or somebody from our team and the homeowner sitting down at the table. We're talking about what do you need, and we're trying to craft a solution that works. And what a lot of people, I think, in the real estate world, when we talk to real estate agents, I think, as Monty said, there's some, I would say, what would you say, misconceptions about investors, and there's bad apples. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's definitely
Always.
bad apples out
Right?
there.
Humans.
But no different as being an agent.
For sure.
Yeah, right.
But I think, where some of the agents maybe have some of the misconceptions is that like we're taking advantage of people and we're, that's where and some people, again, they do.
Yep.
In our situation, what I think a lot of agents have a hard time like wrapping their brain around, and I did when I got in this industry too, is like, why would someone sell their house for 50 cents on the dollar? This doesn't make any sense to me at all. In the real estate world, as an agent, you're talking price. Like, what can I list it for? What could you get? It's all price.
Yep.
Our conversations are, what are your problems? What's the best solution to help fix this? And let's get you a number that still works. But what I think a lot of people fail to realize is money's not the most important thing for them, for everybody.
For everybody.
Some people it is.
Yeah.
There's a good group of people who don't care about the money. That's not what.
Yeah.
It's just like you think about anything that we buy. If money was the most important thing in everything we bought, we'd all be driving Geo Metros, and we'd have dial-up internet at home. And it's all about the value.
Geo
and the
Metro,
problem.
Right? What is that?
You're a car guy. What the hell is a Geo Metro?
That's old school right there.
Maybe a Saturn.
Yeah.
Maybe a Saturn.
That's not going to pass the crash test, probably.
No,
See what I did there?
anywhere.
See what I did there?
What, the Kia?
Kia.
Are you knocking my Kia?
Kia. Hey,
now.
ever since the dude came over from Audi, Kia's been doing.
I love my Kias,
Or
man.
should I say Audi? Ooh,
I don't
right.
know.
Yeah, I know. That's a big subject.
Yeah. Audi or Audi?
Right.
You're the car guy.
Audi.
Audi.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
how it is. That's how it
bougie.
is.
Audi 5000. Keep it sleazy.
So, can you tell me just real briefly,
Thanks for getting it back on track,
who
by
are
the way.
some of the people that are coming to you? I know you said unique situations
Yeah.
to get ourselves into these certain situations where you're kind of in the situation where you have to sell, right?
Right.
And so,
Yeah.
what does some of that look like?
Yeah, so I mean, like a divorce situation is one that comes up a lot. There's a timeline sometimes in those where they have to have it sold or they want to have it sold to disperse the funds to each person, so they don't have to go through this whole long, drawn out process. And they don't necessarily want their stuff blasted on the internet. Like they don't want it showing up on Realtor.com or some of these other places.
Yeah, it's
So they-
public record once a transaction sells on the MLS.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and it's going to go. It's going to be public knowledge once it closes.
Sure.
But it's just that in between process of they don't want pictures of the inside of their house. They don't. So it's not necessarily that they have to go this route. It's more of like a preference of like we value privacy more so. And so for us, it's just a quick, easy, kind of off the radar transaction that takes place. Landlords, we work with a lot of landlords. Same thing. They don't want their tenants getting all up in arms of having all these people having to come through and walk in the properties and do the showings and all that. There's a lot of situations like we're dealing with one right now. Lady lost her husband. They were like mid renovation, and we're actually working with Monte on this one. They're mid renovation. It's a beautiful house, but it just needs to be finished. And she just emotionally doesn't want to deal with it and just wants a price to just walk away and not have to do anything. Situations with people who have a lot of stuff left in the house.
Okay.
Probate.
Almost like what about like an estate?
Yeah,
Right.
somebody
Yep.
dies. There's a ton of
A
stuff.
property goes to you.
Yep.
Maybe land.
Another
those
one
kind
that
of
I'm
things,
working with
right?
on.
That happened.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we have another one right now. The guy, very emotionally charged. He had to put his mom into a nursing home. So she's still alive, but she has dementia. She's
That's
in
tough.
a nursing home. Yeah, it's a tough
I do that with my
situation.
dad. Yeah.
He's halfway through cleaning it out, and he's like, it's just too much. Like, I don't want to keep cleaning it out. I don't want the emotional stress of it. So things like that. And there's 100 creative things that we do every day.
So I guess, looking at it is it's more of a, like you said, problem solving, but there's a lot of empathy that goes into it. There's a lot more, for me on the retail side, we still deal with all of those things, right? Like for sure. But I think that's what separates really good agents from the bad agents.
Totally.
Like, I'll give you an example. A good agent will go in and do exactly what Corey said: is sit down. Why are you selling? What's your plan? What do you need? And every single sale is a problem. Like there's
Otherwise,
not
sell?
one.
Why would you pack up the biggest investment you have and all your life belongings? And,
And
that's
some people look at it, well, it's not a problem. They're great people and whatever, but maybe they're downsizing.
Yeah.
That's a problem. Maybe they need more space.
Exactly.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
Maybe they just want to move. That's a problem in their head.
Yeah.
There's all of those different things. And then you dive deeper into more of the science behind it and get into more of the brain and how all that works.
Yeah,
And Brad
why we
and
do
Carrie
the-
will be on
do the things that
probably
we
the
do,
next
right?
few weeks to talk about, that. But you have to be able to level with a person, and the good agents will sit down and actually go, okay, here's our plan. This is what we're going to do. And they'll take action on that plan, right?
Nice.
Whereas nice plug, right?
Yep.
So, and then you'll have the ones that'll just go in and say, well, here's your price. Here's what your house will sell for. Give me the listing.
Yeah.
And there's no
really a
strategy
relationship
or plan.
with you.
It's very relationship.
It's all relationship, right?
And I think your team does an awesome job of that because, I mean, obviously we get a lot of referrals from you guys as far as like, hey, this person, they appreciate that. But there's people that are maybe not in a position, and your team does a very good job of saying, hey, your best solution is to give a realtor a call, give Monte a call or his team a call. And you should list this place.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because you're going to get the most amount out of it. Now, in some cases, they may go, I don't want to deal with all that shit.
For sure.
And
it kind of reminds me of like my great grandmother. She's turning 95 actually this week.
Okay.
And so we celebrate birthdays the same week, which is super cool. But she had a property that was going to go to us in Oshkosh, and the septic needed to be replaced, and there's a couple things that need to be dialed in, and there was probably a moment there where they could have benefited from a service like yours.
Right.
Once her husband passed away, my grandpa, being in a situation where she needed to downsize, right, and get rid of the property relatively quickly, clean it out, and actually put some money back into what they invested into the property over time. They're in their property for 40 years. That's you know what I mean. So big decision on their part. Eventually went with a realtor, and it turned out fine.
Yeah.
But I just think about that, like how difficult that might have been at somebody, let's say 85 to 90 years old.
Yep.
How a company like yours could really help that person.
For sure.
Right?
And there's a lot of situations like what you're talking about. And there's like, you get somebody who the average American has what, like $400 or $4,000 to their name at all, right? A roof alone, you're going to be north of 10 grand nowadays, right? Yep. So I mean, if your roofs, they haven't made one that doesn't deteriorate yet over time. So over time, eventually, it's gonna
roofs, kind of.
Maybe, yeah. But, most people's roofs, asphalt shingle, it's gonna deteriorate over time. Things like that, like where somebody's in a home, but they aren't making enough to really be stashing away cash to be saving up for some of the updates and repairs. Like as an investor, when I look at a rental property, when I'm looking at my cash flow every month on that thing, I'm setting aside a part of that rent to say I'm going to have to fix the roof at some point. The windows are going to need to be updated at some point. The furnace is going to need to be replaced. Those are big ticket items. Most homeowners don't budget for that stuff, right? And so if they're in a spot where finances are tight for whatever reason, they're not able to accumulate that safety net. And so when some of that stuff starts to go, they have to make that tough decision of like, okay, are we better off renting where we don't have to worry about all this stuff, right? And we're going to pay a little bit more every month probably, but then everything's taken care of. We don't have property tax, insurance, things breaking. And so that comes up a lot too, where it's just a situation of like, finally the repairs caught up to them. They haven't stuck any money into this thing. And now it's time to either fix it or liquidate it. And, if they don't have the cash to do it, that's where we can come in and get them out of a hairy situation like that.
Nice.
Sweet. Yep. So let's switch gears a little bit because we can talk about all your product and all the things that you do. But who are you? Like, I know you. Yeah. We have very similar chromosomes, I've heard. So.
Our genetics are pretty close.
Where did this all start? Where's the genesis?
Where did it go? So you got into real estate. And I remember right around the exact time you did. We were both working at the same job and you were like, this is dumb. And I'm like, you're the number one earner in our company right now. Yeah. You're like, this is so dumb. I'm going into real estate. I'm like, what the hell? He's got the world by the balls here. And you made the jump, and obviously you've mentored me out of that in a way as well. So you went from little to big real quick. But how did that start? How did you get started in real estate? What was it that was like, I got to do real estate?
Yeah, I think it started actually back when Carrie and I, my wife, met. Back in 2008, we met. And I was working a side business as it was. I was always kind of hustling growing up. I was the guy that burned CDs in high school.
Funny story.
Okay.
Funny story. I don't know where this is going. So statute of limitations is way gone now. So he's talking about always hustling, and he has. He's like, he is the epitome. Like anything he touches turns to gold.
I got ice cream.
So, so I'm like 22, 23 years old. He's going to college. He's a freshman in college.
I know where this is going.
His first weekend, he calls me. He's like, hey, bro. Can you get me a case of vodka? And I'm like, a case? Like, dude, you're just moving into college. I do not I was
thinking maybe a bottle, but.
So I come to find out he has me get like this $6 bottles of Gordon's.
Gordon's going to give you a headache for sure.
Yeah. And I drop it off at his dorm in Eau Claire. We were out there for whatever reason, and
we went to a concert. I think it was like Trapped in Three Doors Down.
Three Doors Down in Cedar. Yeah, it was a great show. It was a great show.
Cedar. That's how I couldn't think of that band.
Yeah, and so
South Africa.
All of a sudden he calls me like a week later. He's like, "Hey man, I might need to come out here and get you some more." I'm like, I sold every one of those bottles for like $40. I'm like, oh my God.
I made a good profit.
It was a good spread.
It was a good spread.
I was wholesaling vodka back then.
Wholesaling retail.
I guess I was flipping it.
You were flipping vodka. Yeah, you were taking retail price vodka.
Yeah.
And selling it at a higher rate to underage youths.
Thank goodness that statute of limitation is over. Yeah,
I was the supplier, so I'm just as good.
But we all have that hustler grind. We're all entrepreneurs, right? I mean, same for me too. I mean, you too. You have it too.
Yeah.
So back to
So anyway, good side story. I forgot about that one. So that, burning CDs, a lot of illegal activity in my younger business days.
Well, there's no hard drugs.
LimeWire. What is LimeWire?
Yeah, I never got into drugs, so that was good. I did coach a drug dealer.
Oh, you
one
did?
time.
I was there for that also.
Monte was there when I coached that drug dealer on his sales techniques. They were terrible.
They were
easy product, and he was just messing it up.
He wasn't even using
he probably wasn't that good of a dealer.
He wasn't even using the takeaway.
He should have been pulling away.
Or even giving the product away for free. He didn't do any of that stuff.
You got him hooked.
No value, just he was like that realtor that goes in and just gives a price. Right. That's what he was.
Premium product undercut the competition. All right,
we can edit all of that last part out.
That is staying at least for sure.
Okay. At least for the blooper.
All right. No, that's staying for sure.
Good. For sure.
All right, so back to a real
Drug
story
dealers.
here. So my wife. Now here we're getting
My wife.
Back to your wife. All right,
let's get sentimental here for a minute.
My wife.
My wife. Yes, she was nice.
My wife.
Let's try to get serious here for a second.
All right.
Back to the important genesis of why you made this huge jump.
You met your amazing wife.
Yes. So we're together a couple years. We're engaged. We're going to get married in 2011. And she was going to school to be a nurse. I was doing inside sales for a company selling nuts and bolts in the trucking industry.
Sweet.
And she gave me a call one day. She was crying on the phone. And I'm like, oh, what the heck? She's like tough girl. She never cries, right? And she was complaining about pain in her side. And so I said, she thought it was appendicitis, being a nurse. And I was like, okay, I think that's bad. If it bursts, like that's probably not good.
Yeah.
So I left work probably too late, but I took her in anyway. And they did surgery, cut it out. It was all great. 2 weeks later, she has her post-op, checking up on the wound and making sure there's no infection, that kind of thing. And the doctor starts opening the folder up to look through her records. And he like kind of stops and he's looking like all confused and he kind of looks at her, looks back, right? And I wasn't there. I was like, do you want me to go with? She said, no, it's just a routine thing. It'll be fine. He ends up telling her she has appendix cancer, like 0.4% of all cancers.
Come on.
Right. So I'm freaking like,
right.
We're supposed to be getting married in 4 months. Now we're dealing with cancer. Like, how does that happen?
That makes me nauseous.
Little perspective.
Yeah. So she ended up having to have a major surgery where they had to cut out a bunch of stuff that was kind of around the appendix. Really? I don't know exactly what it was called. Hemicolectomy or something like that, I think is the word. Anyway, they cut a lot of stuff out of there. So she was in the hospital for 9 days. And I think I was always entrepreneurial, but I was always doing it side hustle. And I think at that point, her and I both kind of like she was going to be a nurse and just work 40 years as a nurse and make a good living and have the secure job. And I think in that moment we were like, you know what? Like this could all be over like that, right? And we don't want to be the people that are, not that there's anything wrong with this for some people, but like we didn't want to choose the life of let's work for 40 years, collect a 401k, buy an RV, drive around the country for a couple of years and die. Like that wasn't our plan. That was our do.
And that's funny too, because both of our parents were very much that way.
Right. Yeah.
Like coming out of high school, it's like, if you could make $20 an hour, that was huge. We didn't grow up with a ton of money.
Manufacturing.
We grew up in
whatever,
a trailer house.
Yeah, I mean, we grew up in a trailer house. Our parents did not ever make us feel poor. There were times that we realized it when we were older, but they did a great job of supporting us and doing it within the means that they could. But we like only until now that we realized like, shit, our parents really like struggled
and do the thing
and stretch and do that. And so Corey and I like had the same kind of thing. It was like, there's a different way.
Yeah. There's got to be a different way. I feel the same way. I grew up in a pretty rough household and my parents were great when they're young and, just some of those old, behaviors. What is money? How do we make a living? You know, that kind of thing. And there's just some challenges. So our family went through some similar things, and that's why I have the drive that I have today.
I think
try
that's
to
where
create,
it comes from.
not just a home or not just a house, but a real home that we can come home to.
Yeah, so that's safety, right? I mean, kids want to be secure and safe, right? And you want to give your kids that, right? That safety and security. So as an entrepreneur, you don't always get that.
Back to that. So anyway, back to what you were saying about just like, after Carrie's cancer, going into
so we, she ended up being fine. She still walked down the aisle. Everything was great. It was awesome. But so we're super blessed that all turned out the way it did. But through that, we just started searching. Like, we had I had my side business, personal training business, and like she started thinking about like, do I really want to be a nurse, or like, what do I want to do? And we started having kids, and so we decided to retire her, and then I went to work with Monte at the previous company. But the whole time we were looking for some other vehicle, and we tried network marketing for a while, and it was great. It was okay, but learned a lot through that process. Same. And then we read Rich Dad Poor Dad, which is like the number one.
Everybody kicks it off.
The number one real estate investor.
That's
probably
such a great book.
Kiyosaki probably gets credited more than anybody.
Oh, he does for real estate investors.
Yeah,
for sure. 100%. Every single person that I talk to that comes into my office.
Kiyosaki.
Oh, you have Rich Dad Poor Dad. Ashley just did that too. She was like, hey, remember that day?
Especially with network marketing. I mean, that thing is pushed out hard. You know what I mean? Kiyosaki especially. But
so we decided we actually really didn't like network marketing. I hated chasing people down and trying to get them to sign up for the product and all this stuff.
It was a good product.
Yeah, I still use it, but I don't push it anymore. You know, it's just not in my wheelhouse. But through that, we started looking like what's the vehicle we can find that can create freedom for us, right? And network marketing wasn't it for us. Like we just found we burned out really quick in that. We found real estate, and we were like, this is it. This is the thing that we can get into. And as we got into it, we started to realize like this is a really powerful vehicle. That's where I started, working with Monte and like started to teach it to other people.
Yeah,
as
he was pushing. He was pushing me, but this time I was like, I'm listening.
Yeah,
and I
see what you're doing.
And I was in a really I was in a pretty happy place with my career at that point. And I was more of a loyalist. I'll put it that way. And a couple of years later, I found out loyalty doesn't matter. So I changed at that time, and I'm glad I did. But it was his pushing around that time that. He kicked me off the ledge, which was awesome. Really cool. Because otherwise none of us would be sitting here at this moment if he didn't give me the boost.
So thank you.
Yeah.
You got a job because of him.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. It is cool to see the ripple effect though. Like that's the thing that I think is really powerful about real estate is it's like, how do we take our story of like, she could have been dead at 24, right, from this cancer. And some people are, unfortunately, that's their fate, right? And they don't get the opportunity to live this long life we all think we get to live. And it's like, how do I start sharing this message with people I care about and people in my circle? Will be like, you don't have to, if you don't want to, go through the traditional path that you're taught. Like go to school, get a job, work forever, right? That kind of thing. And then through that, on the flip side, what's been really interesting is like the empathy thing, like you're talking about, is I see all these people in these tough situations in their house on the other side of it, right? And we're going into their living room, and I'm like, their freedom's different than the freedom I'm choosing.
Right.
The freedom they need is to be released from this heavy burden laying on their neck of this financial stress or this overwhelming emotional stress that they have. And it's like the coolest part is this is why I think we have the most 5-star reviews of any real estate investing company in Wisconsin, as far as I know.
I think so. I mean, you guys kill it.
Yeah.
And it's because we care about that situation. We want to really do right by the people, and we want to see that result at the end and get that reaction of like, gosh, you guys were amazing. I was in this tough spot. Your literal answer to prayers we've had in our I mean, it's just so cool to see that freedom that they get to experience now. It's different than the freedom Monte and I are seeking, right? But in the same way, what we're trying to do as real estate investors is protect ourselves financially from being on the other side of the coin and needing somebody to come and rescue us there. We're trying to get out in front of that and to have that freedom from the traditional, I guess our heavy burden is the traditional W-2 path. Right? So
that's what we grew up with. So and it was
the conditioning. For sure.
And I could see that. I mean, as soon as you hit the website, as soon as you hit Facebook, social media, you have the testimonies on there, you have the reviews on there, and it's relationship. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for being there. Thank you for listening. Right. It's those kind of things, which is so great.
Yeah.
So great.
That's and I think that's the coolest part and unique part about what you guys do and the way that you do it. Captures that. And to you, like, and what you like to do, they do a great job of capturing stories too. And their stories usually start out bad and they end out pretty good, or at least no more stress.
Right.
Yeah. Is there any stories that are sticking out like over this last year or so that are just like hitting close to home?
Oh man. I mean, there's one.
There's always some. Right?
Yeah, this isn't like an emotional story, but it kind of goes to like, we work with a wide range of people, and this is a guy, started working with this guy, stepped in. As CEO of the company, I wasn't really in the day-to-day too much until recently. And so getting back in, it's been a lot of fun to like build these relationships again with the customers, which is what I really enjoy. So recently we just had a gentleman, he had the property, he had a duplex, he's an out-of-state owner, and he had his property listed on the market, and he had 3 separate retail buyers that he went under contract with, and for various reasons, they all fell apart. In fact, the last day he had a bunch of debt that he had all planned to pay off with the proceeds from his sale. And on the last day of closing, the buyer's lender figured out that the buyer lied on their loan application. And so they pulled the loan. They said, sorry, we can't lend on it on literally the day. So instead of us having to call him and say, hey, congratulations, buddy. He got a call saying buyers, whatever. So we ended up just taking that property over. We worked with some investors that we know to just connect the dots for him basically. And I think 21 days later, he had cash in the bank and he's super happy and left an awesome review. And he was great to work with the whole time. He had a great attitude about it. And so him and I now, I think we're basically friends. He calls me up and he's just awesome. I love every time I see the phone ring, I'm like, oh, I love this guy. Like, I want to talk to him. You know,
go.
he's one of those guys that you just want to talk to and get to know. So,
well, you got to have long-term relationships. I would imagine that would have been created over the years. I mean, you're helping people in one of the biggest points of need,
for sure,
right? And probably saving their ass quite a few times.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, which is awesome.
Yeah,
which is really great.
So what's next?
Yeah.
Man, what's next? I mean, we're going to just continue to grow our team and continue to try to touch more people, you know, get the word out to more and more people that may need a solution like what we have to offer, and just continue to try to give them a even better experience throughout that process. You know, we can always get better.
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
know, we still have our shortcomings. We're still growing, learning, changing.
Same.
So we're always
everybody does.
Everybody does in every business.
Every business.
If they don't, they're lying and they're going the wrong way. And
they're not growing.
No time. Yeah,
They're just either flatlined or dead.
Yeah, exactly.
And can you shine light on, like, you know, we have a good partnership here. Obviously, we're doing this great conversation. I mean, is there something that we can get excited about moving into the future this year? I saw you guys were involved in the community a little bit.
Yeah.
And, you know, is there anything that we can look forward to that we can be a part of?
Yeah, I mean, so we have a foundation that we set up in our company. So every dollar that comes in, 1% of that goes to our foundation.
Cool.
So we donate locally to just like families in need. Somebody will nominate somebody and we'll donate some money to them. Different causes. We really enjoy missions. So we're a Christian-based community, and so we enjoy giving back to different missions around the country. So we just partnered with an orphanage in Africa.
Nice.
Super crazy. We just donated some cash to them. It's another real estate investor that we know out of I don't even know where he's out of, but he kind of spearheads it and just raises money from a group of investors around. We were at an event with we raised $150,000 in the room in like 10 minutes.
Wow.
Get out of
It was
here.
super cool. So
Well, congrats.
yeah,
That's great.
it wasn't my 150. We all pooled some money together, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But it's great. You know, you think about how blessed we are here in this country, and everybody wants to complain about you know left and right, and we're gonna fight, and
especially now. Geez.
Yeah, and everybody's at everybody's throat.
Buckle down.
Yeah,
we're just getting
turn the news off for the next 6 months.
Yeah.
That's why I
None
turn
of
the
it's
news
gonna matter.
literally on for like 5-10 minutes and I turn it off.
He just wants to see my commercial. That's why he
Yes,
turns it
that's
on.
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, now you're here.
No, yeah.
You can just go back and watch it. You can go back and watch the replay, right? But I mean, we're super blessed in this country. We really do. We have opportunities to go create our own businesses and do all these things.
Right.
And so the orphanage that he was presenting in this town in Africa, if their kids don't make money for the family, they just kick them out the door.
Yeah.
Like 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds.
What?
They're involved in sex trade. They're involved in stealing.
Yeah.
All of these things.
Garbage rating, all that
If
stuff.
they don't bring
right?
something back of value, the family just boots them. And so these kids are literal orphans. And so one of these gentlemen went over to plant a church, and he ended up calling back and saying, hey, I can do a church, but what they really need is an orphanage. And so right now what they have is just kind of a rickety house, small. I think it's 3 bedrooms, and they have 72 kids at this orphanage.
What?
It's crazy.
What?
Yeah.
Damn.
So
Yeah,
they needed
they need a
money
space.
to build a bigger space. And so they had they raised a bunch of money. I think they raised like 100 or 150,000 previously. And in Africa, the way they work it is they build until they run out of cash.
Okay.
So this thing is like you can see some
Development.
start of the structure.
Yeah.
But they just stop if they don't have the money. There's no bank loans.
Yeah.
For this stuff to get it through all the way through the process. So this money's going to go over there and help continue the building of this thing, and they're going to be able to house more and more of these kids. And you just wish something culturally you could fix the roots, but right now at least just bring these kids in and love on them and give them a home.
So great to get over there too. I have a friend that visits, Africa every once in a while on a mission trip, and just get a chance to give back, raise up some churches, things like that. Yeah,
Super cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and then we're planning to take our entire team down to Mexico to do a house build. Hopefully this fall.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, so I've done 3 of those, and it's super.
Monty and I are going to come with just to capture content.
Dude, you guys should come. Totally, honestly, we can always use content to get the word out, or people swinging hammers. I got kicked off of doing trusses this last year, so that's why I work in the office. I got
Extra
soft
hands.
office hands, as Tony.
Why did you
Boyer
get
would say.
kicked off of trusses? What did you do?
I was not good.
What did you do?
I was going to say nobody ever kicks anybody off of trusses unless they fall.
No, I didn't fall. I just was super slow, and I kept missing with the hammer. So like the nail was
Couldn't
missing.
use the hammer? I don't know.
The nail was missing.
No
the
nail
frame.
guns while you're down there?
You don't do nail guns there. No, you just get a hammer and some nails.
Hammer
Old
nails.
school, man. But
That's
you put
it.
the house up in 2 days.
Yeah.
So it's pretty wild. Like
it's just like a 4-wall house with a roof, right?
yeah, it's 2 bedrooms. So there's an interior
Yeah.
wall, but yeah, you get a kitchen and 2 bedrooms and
Okay.
basically a 20 by 20
Nice.
house. And
Nice.
yeah, so it's
That
pretty
sounds
wild.
like
Who was in charge? Not you,
Not
clearly.
me for sure. No. They have a building team that's there with you.
Oh, okay, that's good.
They got a couple people that are.
I was gonna be
that's
like,
what they do
somebody
every
tell
weekend.
you what to do.
Yeah.
All the materials are there. You just gotta like paint it, put it together, hammer and nail.
We'd like to do that locally, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's
we'd
really
like to
like
do something
one of
like
our
that.
big things that we want to do, that we've discussed in our meetings is, and this is probably a 2025 and beyond plan, but is we want to build a house in our area for
That's cool.
somebody that's whatever, or a tiny village or something like that.
Yeah.
What about, have you guys looked at like partnering with like Habitat or any of those guys?
We
Like,
have done some initial outreach, so I'm actually going to be having a meeting with them hopefully coming up. But regardless, I think the tiny spaces especially are really exciting.
Yeah.
So
like a tiny house kind of thing.
that'd be cool.
Yeah, especially as we've learned now that they're compressing lots. So
Oh, really?
there's a housing shortage. So now you're going to start
allowing some
noticing.
variances.
You're going to start noticing houses are closer together.
Yeah, different
More
community
townhome
developments
type
and
of
stuff.
look
Yeah.
at the stuff. Yeah.
So
So speaking about getting the word out, how can we find you? I know you were representing a couple brands here today.
wait. Before you do that, we got to go let him ask the questions.
You
What
want
are
him to
doing?
flip it. So so you can ask us basically anything that you want within
Anthony's all
reason.
trying to wrap this thing up.
Yeah. He's like, all right.
I'm not letting my brother off that easy.
He's like, I had enough of this. I'm out of here. I don't want the questions.
So you can ask us about real estate, of course. You could ask us about all things here at Take Action, or just about something to us personally.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Anthony, what's the thing that sticks out to you in your life that you've worked on in the past? Like, what's a project that you're like, man, whether that's something nonprofit or something just was cool. That was just
I've done a few things.
You've done a few.
I've done a few things.
Jesus.
So before I came here, of course, I talked about it on one of the first podcasts that I did here at Take Action. That is the nonprofit that I started 10 years ago, Rise Together, which we raise awareness around mental health and addiction. So we do give back to the community. We have educational seminars that have educated over 300,000 students, mostly here in Wisconsin.
That's awesome.
So we're literally on our 10th year, 10-city tour right now. So next month I go to California and Florida, for example, to wrap up our final tour. It could be the last time I'm on stage with my nonprofit. And I run it with my fiance. And we've been doing that for several years together. So she's a TEDx speaker. We were featured in Forbes, NPR, you name it. And in part, that has allowed me to have this really great passion project. It's turned into so many other things. So I do photography on the side, travel nationally for that. I do storytelling. I do a little bit of writing. So I released like a little book called Untangling the Mess last year, which is a journal essentially for mostly men to start untangling their own shit. And it's a good starter packet to just start doing something
For sure.
to start going in a healthier direction. So there's a lot that I've been a part of, but I've been working in the community for almost 14 years now throughout the Fox Valley, and I'm very community driven. And so from the podcasts that I've launched before, outside even what I've done here, or the car shows that I've helped put together, I love just reaching out to the community and supporting our next generation. So I've been ahead of a lot of really cool projects. I'm super excited about that.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, God bless you, man, and what you're doing. That's amazing. Like, that's crazy. Like,
Good
that's,
question.
That's such
question.
a needed. I mean, such a needed thing. That there's addictions everywhere now, in so many different facets.
Absolutely. So you're talking about taking a house and turning it into a home. I come from a pretty broken home because of things like alcohol and poor, mental health, mental illnesses, impacted me personally. And so I think about how that impacts today's culture and society. And, we know a lot of homes are being torn up because of overdose, for example, my home being one of them. I lost a son back in 2020. And so that was a really hard thing. But with that being said, even though that is a serious conversation, those are the very things that drive us to go do something different in our lives. Like you talked about with your wife, a tragedy almost came into play where you had to look at your life and say, okay, how do we want to live the rest of our life? And after all things 2020, I knew that at the 10-year mark, I would jump into something else, something new, something exciting, and start leading a new chapter of my career, my life. And literally this year, I'm about to get married. I'm turning 40 tomorrow. I get an opportunity to be a part of this team. And have a baby, literally in the other room. And,
cute, really cute.
It's amazing to see my daughter go into college. And my life is literally all those things that I wished and dreamed it would be.
That's
is starting to happen. And I'm doing that alongside these guys here. And it's a dream come true.
That's super cool, man.
It really is.
I know, like, tragedy sometimes can be our biggest blessing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm not saying that to take light of
But either
what
way,
happened, but
tragedy the triumph. Right.
I look at Carrie. If you ask Carrie, what would you say about the, what you went through with the cancer? She said it was the best thing that ever happened to me. It's like, I don't think that's maybe in everybody's case.
Filters.
But there's filters with it. But I mean, I think in some cases, you look back and it's just perspective of, what can we do going forward based on this experience in the past. And
well, your life is different when you start thinking about the end in mind.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's why I keep telling you, 40's a new baby.
Like, I'm like, this is great.
You're a newborn.
I feel like a new baby now.
New baby.
With AI, man, we're living to 130. So
That's right.
we better get ready, strap up. That's why you need to start investing in real estate.
That's exactly right.
You need that financial
Change your future.
The appreciation when I die.
Yes.
2110.
Yes.
2110.
I'll be 120.
Could you imagine
By
us at
then, I would have done
120
everything.
still on this podcast? We're on
my God.
episode 1200.
1200. We
1,200,
better
12,000.
Yeah,
We're like-
12,000.
We're in episode 1 million.
Yeah, right. Oh my gosh.
Cool. What else you got?
Monty, what's the worst memory you have of me from our childhood? What's the worst thing I've done
Worst
to you
memory.
from our
Jackpot.
childhood? Let's get that out there because you talked about the vodka store. I was like, man, there's probably some other stuff.
Oh,
I've
man.
done that
I mean, I don't think there's not a worst.
maybe not worse. Maybe
The other one was worst.
well,
Jesse's had some bad ones, but
yeah. Maybe not the worst. Maybe what's the best memory? Let's go with that.
man.
Let's keep it positive.
let's keep it
positive,
positive.
man.
Come
I
on,
mean, and go
guys.
back to the youths. I mean, I think probably like one of your funniest or one of the coolest ones was your Mr. PHS win.
Oh yeah. Well, I didn't win. I took second.
Whatever.
what is
It was
that?
so
Bring it
awesome.
up.
He did
Let's not
like a
bring it
Chris
up.
Farley skit of Down by the River.
Yeah.
Yes.
And at the school thing, that was one of the cool ones. I mean, I was always just proud of you growing up and watching you like.
Do you have
You
video
kind of
of
always
this?
like followed in
I
my
do.
footsteps a little bit, and then eventually you like ran past me, and then I had to follow in yours a little bit, and now we're
That's
kind of like,
the last
I have
child
two
syndrome.
brothers, so you know I know.
The younger one, is he better? Is he the best?
Well, they're both younger, and they think they're cooler than I am. But
yeah. Well, we know he's not.
yeah,
So we already know that. He's not even as good looking as me, see? Now you guys
Let's
can
let
make
the
a
audience be the
decision.
judge. Yeah,
Audience.
comment below.
Oh, yeah,
what
this
it's
will be a
supposed to-
poll. Son of a bitch. One of us.
Son of a-
Actually, don't do that.
Don't do that. We don't-
One of us is not
We all
going to
have
be happy
egos
with
here.
the outcome.
Yeah, that's right. It's not gonna
have
end well.
egos.
Let's
Especially if
not
it's
do
like
a poll.
especially if it's a landslide. If it's
You're
close,
like,
all right, all right.
yeah. You
know.
can always vote
Landslide.
for me though.
Yeah, that's true.
Or, let's vote for him.
Anthony.
He's way better looking
Who's
than
the
both of
best
us.
looking Anthony on this podcast? Yes.
Nailed it.
Nailed it. I love that you guys are together on a show. I didn't
It's
know.
fun.
I didn't know we were going to be able to pull this off today. I really
Yeah.
appreciate you being in the studio.
Well, I'm glad we could catch you. You know, in town from Florida, you got a tan.
Yeah,
I did get a little tan.
I'm
Yeah.
jealous. We're about to get it though. It's like 70 today.
It's
so
nice out there.
It's like
Yeah,
Florida
today that
here.
This is recorded.
These lights are giving me a tan. Thanks, Rob. I didn't know you changed these to UV lights.
It's a tanning bed in here.
Multi-purpose.
Is it hot in here?
Yeah, it's also a sauna. Don't worry.
Right.
We just get
Don't
all
worry.
the health benefits.
My
in there.
eyes are bleeding, blistered. Come with blisters all over my face tomorrow. So
man.
cool. All right, so Core, how can they find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook. It's probably the easiest way. I don't have Instagram anymore. I'm not like the cool kids on
that's
Instagram. Got a little YouTube channel with content. We'll probably start cranking more of it.
Nice.
I've been kind of slacking there. Or just our website. Probably the best way is foxcitieshomebuyers.com or ibuywi.com. Either one of those.
As an investor, too, for people who are looking to invest, find properties that you guys are getting, where can they find
Wisconsin Discount Properties.
you? Yeah.
Boom.
I didn't. He looked right at the
He looked
camera.
at it,
Into the
right?
camera. He said, "Do it in the camera." When he said
You didn't have to go all creepy face. though. He's like,
that'll get more views.
Yeah, we'll put all the links in the
all of them,
episode notes,
all of them.
right?
Yeah, good stuff. Well, bro, thanks for coming in.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having
Yeah,
us.
thank you so much
Yeah,
for
it's been
being on
fun.
the show today. This is awesome.
Yeah.
It's always
You know,
good.
and if you want to ever come back, you just let us know.
Hey, I would love it. Let's do it.
All right, guys.
Let's
Well,
do it.
that's it. You want to wrap up?
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming into the studio today. We had Fox City Homebuyers, and this is It's Your Neighbor podcast, and this is episode 14, back every single week. You can find us at tarealitygroup.com. Thank you so much. My name is Anthony Alvarado, and this is
Monte Reyement.
Take It Easy.